Welcome back, everyone. We have legendary guitar player Bumblefoot. How are you doing today?
Good. Happy 2025.
Right? It's crazy. We're already there, man. Time's flying, right?
I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying, like, wasn't it just 1980? He pointed out to me, he's like, the difference between 1980 and 2025 is the same as 1935 and 1980. It would be like being in 1980 and saying, wasn't it just 1935? Think about that. That's
That's
how, like, 1980 just seems, at least for me, it seems like not very super long ago.
that's
And
insane.
like when you put it in that perspective, it's like, oh my God, wow. We are in the future. It's 2025, 2020 fucking five.
Right? And crazy to think like 30 years ago this year your debut dropped too. Thinking about that. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Crazy time
30 years. How did that happen?
time
That was
flies, man.
yesterday. Yes. Incredible. And I like your background, by the way. That's cool.
Thank you. I use it for my bass videos when I do bass videos. So you're about to release your ninth studio record. How is it that like the process changed, differ since your first record, The Adventure of Bumblefoot?
Oh my God, it's so different. See, back then, you had to get signed to a label,
Mhm.
and they controlled everything.
That's crazy.
Where whoever's going to hear it, it's up to them. You know, wherever they distribute it, if they license it to other labels, and everything was very territorial. It's like, you know, the label only does the US. If you want it in Japan, you got to find, you know, we licensed to Roadrunner in Japan and they had it. And it's so different now. Like just starting with that aspect, anybody can release any music to the entire world within days.
Right.
It's so different. And back then, you couldn't just record on a laptop. There was no such thing as a laptop. And you had to have studio gear, physical gear. You needed the mixing board, you needed the, you know, recorders. Back then, ADATs were the new thing, which is VHS tapes that recorded digitally on the tape.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was so different. Now everything is right on a computer. And so that aspect is different. What else? The artwork.
Yeah.
Back then, I designed my own artwork. It took me 2 weeks where I was using this software called Corel Draw 4, where it was this like vector art where you have a dot and another dot and you make them into a line and then, you know, shape. And then you can fill the shape and bend the lines and make a gradient color inside it little by little. Where now, and back then it was like email, it was like AOL 2.0. And if you wanted to browse the internet, you had to open AOL and put on the Netscape browser. And there was no Google, there was
Yeah.
no YouTube, we had nothing. We
Right.
barely had shoes. So it was, everything was so different and the communication wasn't there as a result. Like now, you want to find an artist, you can find a million of them online to help you do your art, which I was doing the artwork and it was coming out terrible. It was awful. So I got a 2D, you know, artist to make my main graphic character, the guitar spaceship thing,
Mhm.
and then a 3D rendering artist that converted it to 3D so that it never has to be drawn again. Like if you want to see it at a different angle, you just tilt the 3D model and make a 2D image of it. And it could be used in the music video and in video games, which we did.
Right.
So it's so different now. And I mean, just everything is different. Back then, the album was out on CD and cassette.
Yeah.
Now, you have streaming, you have downloading, you have CD, you have vinyl. And just in honor of my first album, I did cassette.
That's perfect though.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it just everything is different now. Everything is more down to earth.
Mhm.
Labels back then were like these untouchable gatekeepers. And now it's like, all right, I'm handling digital and website stuff and things like that. But you know, just reach out to Deco Records, chatting with them, and they said, hey, we'll do your physical retail, you know, and the normal retail chains for you. It's like it's so personal. And then we're Zoom chatting and just talking about our pets and local restaurants and all stuff like that. Like it's so different now. Back then, the artist would never speak to the label. You had to hire a lawyer because they
That's
don't accept unsolicited material. And then from there, and then maybe you get a manager and they talk on your behalf. Now it's like everyone's human, and
Right.
it's so much better. It
It
is.
seems like it.
Yeah.
And to think about it, so we're talking about you just hit 30 years. With the hidden 30 years from your debut, did it make you wanna do another instrumental? Because it's saying this is your first one since then.
I never really wanted to be an instrumental artist. Like, I saw Kiss, well, I should say, I heard Kiss when I was 5 years old. The Kiss Alive album just came out, and that's what made me want to be a musician. And that's what I envisioned myself doing, being a singing guitar player as part of a band where we all sing, we all contribute, we're all like, every single one of us is an equal, vital member of that band.
Yeah.
And that was always my dream, to be in a band like that. And when I got my first record deal, the label said that, well, we want to start, it was a guitar label, and they said, we want to start doing music with vocals. So we'd like to sign you so you could do your singing songs, because I always wrote like band music, just rock songs with vocals. And I always sang. But once I signed, they said, all right, now that you signed and we got you, you're going to do an instrumental album. I'm like, no, I didn't want to. So did one. And I'm happy with it. It's fine. Since then, I only did vocal music. I would do a couple of instrumental songs the same way like Van Halen albums would have an instrumental song here and there, like some guitar-centric song in between the band stuff. So it was always like that. The last album I had put out was 10 years ago, called Little Brother Is Watching, and it's all vocal, no instrumental stuff. But since then, it's been a busy 10 years. 3 albums with Art of Anarchy, 3 albums with Sons of Apollo, an album with Whom Gods Destroy, producing a bunch of bands, tons of touring, million guest spots on other people's things, and what else? Music for video games and TV shows and horror movies and all kinds of stuff.
Can't forget the hot sauce. You can't forget the hot sauce.
Oh, yes, the hot sauce, of course, thank you. The hot sauce. And making hot sauce. The Bumblefoot Hot Sauce Company. Yes. So that as well, which is on my mind, on the to-do list. I have to make, for this new album, I have to make a new hot sauce that goes with it. And I was looking at all the names of the songs, like which one would work? There's a few that could work, but I'm thinking Moonshine Hootenanny and putting some like boiled down alcohol in it.
That'd be cool.
That could work. Monstruoso could be a very heavy, intense one. What else? Funeral March could be a really deadly one. Thinking Lift Off, and maybe I could put some something that like makes you immediately go to the bathroom. So yeah, I'm thinking of it. I got to do some more hot sauces, but it was the pandemic. Sons of Apollo just had to cut a tour short and rush back home. We had all this time on our hands. So I put out an instrumental single. There was this riff I had in my head that I needed to get around to putting out, and suddenly I have time. So I did that. And then I did 2 acoustic EPs and put those out. And then I was doing a lot of studio work, mixing and mastering people's albums and songs and guest stuff and just living in the studio. And I just got the itch. I was like, you know what? The last 2 things under my name that I put out were instrumental. Just a single in 2019, a single in 2020. I should do a whole album. I have time. And I started working on it and doing it. I didn't expect it to take until now to come out from then. But also I was busy working on another Art of Anarchy album and another Whom Gods Destroy album, plus all the studio work.
Of course.
So it took a minute to get everything. This album was actually finished musically, like it was done, mastered, ready to go, ready for people to hear in June of 2023.
Wow.
But
That's crazy.
then I had to, that's when Art of Anarchy and Sons of oh God, Whom Gods Destroy both had, like, we were finishing albums and putting the record deals together and organizing everything for the release of both bands' albums. And either I was going to tell 2 record labels and 8 other people that they needed to wait for me to put out my music, or I was going to put mine to the side
Right.
to take care of them. So we did that. And then early last year, I jumped back on very quickly. It's like, all right, the music is done. I don't have to do a thing there. It's all about prepping the album to be released, making the vinyl happen, the CD, the cassette, a new website, a new web store, just all the distribution stuff and just all the business stuff. And it was really the artwork that took a long time. Also, that crazy animated music video. It took like a year to make that thing.
Crazy.
And we made a video game, which we didn't put out yet, but there's a Simon in Space video game.
That's gonna be
We made
cool.
this free video game that people could download and listen to the music while playing this fun little retro space shooter kind of Space Invaders type of game with characters from the artwork.
Right.
You know what? I'll show it to you. I'm going to show you the video game. Can I flip the camera?
That's pretty crazy, man. Like a video game, a lot of bands don't do that. So that's definitely different than most bands are doing right now.
So let me see. Can I flip this? There's got to be a way. I'm touching the screen. There should be like a camera flip.
I hardly ever use because I have to do all the controls on here, so I haven't used a phone with StreamYard in years. Oh, there you go.
Found it. All right. So this game plays the music from the song, and you got the thing. So click on New Game, and there's the spaceship, and you just shoot it. You just hold it down and start shooting. There's the mice in the spaceships and get the power-ups, and a few more of them. Get them, and now these things, they start shooting at you. So you gotta get around them, and oh, you got me. All right, get around, good, got them, get the power up, and then this one, same deal. Back up, wait, and these guys. All right, get the power ups, and this is getting crazy. Wait a minute, wait, and look up here. There's these mice. Look up. So that is.
That's crazy, man.
The Simon in Space video game. Now, it would have come out with, let me stop this thing. How do I stop it? There we go. It was supposed to come out with the single, but just a few days before, Apple flagged it and said it needs additional review before they'll put it on the store. Yeah. So either we were going to put it out for Android and PC, and not all the Apple people, or just wait a little bit longer until we could make it available for everybody. So I'm holding it back until Apple gives the okay.
That makes sense, though. And there's 14 songs on this record. Did any not make it on there that you wrote?
Yes, there's going to be 16. And there's 2 of them I'm holding back. I just felt like the album was more concise without them. And maybe at some point I'll do like a bonus version of the album where there's maybe vocal versions of the songs or even more guests, and I'll include those songs. Yeah. And one of them has this bass player named Mohini Day, who's one of the greatest bass players on the planet. She's incredible.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any favorite solos you wrote on this record?
Ooh, who's my favorite kid? Let me see. Not really. I think I'm cool with everything. I like each one for a different reason.
Right.
Yeah. Like Moonshine Hootenanny is just like fun. Chopin, the neoclassical, just Once and Forever, just like almost like a ballad kind of bluesy thing.
Right.
The Trading Off in Anveshana with Guthrie, Funeral March, just as like just a composed tearjerker of a song. The Thread is just a real guitar display. It's like the music is just a platform for the guitar to really just stay the focus. All different things. Griggstown, got to play fretless with a talk box.
That's crazy.
And just tap into all the Peter Frampton, Joe Walsh inspiration. Yeah.
That's crazy. And there, like I said, there's 14 tracks. You said 16, but with this lineup, was there any different lineups, or was this like, oh, we went through like this one and this one's perfect?
Do you mean like for the guest players on the song?
No, I mean like the track
listing. The order of the songs, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I tinkered around a little bit. I was like, what if I do this and this? But it wasn't too difficult. I kind of felt like this worked. This one.
and we've been talking 30 years since your debut. For someone that's been in the industry for quite a while, have you grown and learned to adapt in this industry?
Oh yeah, you have to.
Mhm.
I mean, you always have to, just in life. Uh, I always think of it like a three-legged dog. You never hear them complain. You don't hear any self-pity. You don't ever hear a dog say, well, I could have done this if I had my fourth leg.
Right.
Shit happens, and whatever happens, however the world changes, however you change, another way to think of it is be like water. Picture yourself as water in a river, and you just have to flow around all the rocks and all the things, and don't fight the current, and just move with it and figure out your way and your direction and get to where you're looking to go. These are all the philosophical things in my head
Mhm.
that I think of. So yes, don't fight the world that you can't change, and don't fight
Right.
evolution and growth. Find your place in it and adapt.
Mhm.
And yeah, simple as that.
Right. And as a guitar player, what are your challenges like as a guitar player now versus earlier in your career?
Let's see. Now, finding more time to actually just sit down and play and practice. When I was 14, soon as I got home from school, my life was guitar. I didn't, like it was in my hand nonstop, just constantly playing until, dinner, then back to guitar,
Right.
sleep, wake up, play guitar, go to school, come home, play guitar. Like I got to live it, but then life starts getting in the way. The older you get, uh, the more things going on in life. But then also, just the problem is just the farther you are along the road in what you're doing as a musician, the more branches grow on that tree. You start off, you're just a guitar player. That's the trunk of that tree.
Of
But
course.
then it's like, oh, wait, I gotta post all these social media things and design them. Oh, wait, I gotta do this. Oh, I gotta do that. And you also become more than just a guitar player. Like, oh, I'm gonna be from 2 to 5 today. I'm gonna be mixing Sierra LeVec, her new song, and like things like that. Like, there's less time to just sit around and just play guitar. So making the time, clearing my schedule, and just making the me time to just play,
Right.
that is more of a challenge. But it's
Right.
my own doing. I could make the time and I don't. So shame on me. Yes.
And you recently went on tour. How did your live setup differ than what you use in the studio with guitars and pedals?
Now it is very similar. In the old days, you gotta, you have a half stack and you got all your pedals and a bunch of guitars. Now I have my one guitar that goes with me everywhere. This one.
Right. That's crazy. That's beautiful though.
Thank you. Yes, got the fretless and the fretted,
I give you
and
props on fretless. Fretless is a hard one to you have to be very good with sound for that one.
practice, practice, practice. Just
Right.
eyes, ears, and prayers. Uh, so that, and I plug it into this one kind of do-it-all pedal. It's the Line 6 Helix pedal.
Nice.
It simulates every possible pedal and every possible amp, every head, every setting, the bias of the tubes, the speakers, the distance of the mic on them, and the angle of the mic, and what kind of mic. Like it covers everything, and you could create routing that you couldn't do in the physical world. Like
Right.
I gotta have the expression pedal, make it switch from one amp to another while the delay slows down and this reverb kicks in, and like all these things that would take 2 rooms full of gear and 20 people turning
True.
knobs in sync with each other to make that happen. And it's all in a pedal that just
It's
fits in my
crazy.
suitcase. So for everything I do, whether it's playing a big festival or just jamming or doing a clinic or anything, it's just my guitar into that pedal and out straight into front of house. Yeah, that's
Easy.
it.
Sounds
So in
easy.
the studio, it's pretty much similar. Usually I don't even use the pedal. They have the plug-in version of it in the recording software that you can just add to it. So I just plug right into my interface. It goes into Cubase, the recording software, with all the multi-tracks and everything. And then in my guitar track, in there, you put in the Helix plugin, and it's the exact same sounds, the exact same everything as the pedal. So whatever I create for these songs here, download into the pedal, take it with me, and I have the exact same sounds.
Dang.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like yours upgraded a lot. Like over the years, it's pretty cool to see the growth.
yeah.
And you just did a tour. You have a lot of albums. How do you go about making a set list, and how often do you change your set list?
Well, I'm doing a lot less touring with my own solo stuff now. What I do mostly now is music camps, like rock and roll fantasy camp, and my own Bumblefoot music camps and things like that. And one-off events where just show up, meet up with a bunch of people, and we just play. And we work out songs ahead of time. What I usually do for my songs, if I'm doing a one-man show kind of thing, where I'm just like sitting in a chair, stomping my foot, and I got my pedal and some backing tracks, and just, or using a looper, then it'll be anything. And I'll play any songs, random stuff. Someone might even call something out from my childhood. It's like, hey, play Man of War, Death Tone, and just break into it, and
That's fun.
anything.
Crazy.
So yeah, I love Man of War. So it might be like that. But if it's with a full band, I'll have my drummer, Kyle Hughes, who can play anything. He's incredible, and he's on the album, all the songs and everything. So the two of us, and then we just figure out what's going to work. And I have the bass player and another guitar player, and we practice, and we just go out and play. Yeah.
Makes sense. And you had some iconic musicians on this release. How did you go about getting them to play on your record?
I asked them.
That's crazy. Brian May.
Yeah, we'll be seeing each other in April. There's a festival called Starmus. It's the greatest thing as far as like, this is why I became a musician, is this festival, finally. It is a combination of astrophysics and music.
That's crazy.
So they have all these incredible astrophysicists giving lectures. And then in the evening, all us musician apes put on a concert. But Brian May, he is part of the organization of this festival, and he's always on stage playing as well. And we've played together in Armenia and in Slovakia. And now it'll be again, we're going to play the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., April 1st. And then we're going to play the Canary Islands end of April.
Damn.
So that's happening. And it's with my Whom Gods Destroy bandmate Derek on keys, and Tony Franklin on bass, and Vinny Appice on drums in the Canary Islands one. Dino is going to fly out, and he's going to be on vocals, Dino Jalusic.
Nice.
And yeah, it's going to be wonderful. So I'm doing a lot less, just driving around in a van or a tour bus and just spending a month away doing that, and a lot more of these just wonderful events that I just go out and do, and music camps, because my favorite things really are producing bands and teaching. So I love doing the music camps. I have one in LA coming up, rock and roll fantasy camp. Stuart Copeland will be there, and a bunch of great people. And that's February 20th to 23rd. And then another one in March in Fort Lauderdale we're going to do. And we have a bunch planned throughout the year. Yeah.
That's always cool. And you get to work with so many cool musicians like Brian May, Steve Vai, and all of them. Is there anything you learned from them and put towards your own playing, even though you're an amazing player already?
Oh, you learn from everyone. And I've already learned from them. They are, building blocks in who I am. I mean, they've been my influences, my inspirations. Absolutely. Hearing the Flexible EP from Steve Vai when it first came out, and I was like 14 years old, and growing up, just hearing Queen throughout my years as a kid in the 70s and into the 80s, and absolutely. If I do anything musical on guitar, Brian May was an influence, and why. If I do anything out there and wacky and just like making the guitar sound like an alien, Steve Vai is why. Because his influence, and they make you want to find your own voice.
Right. That's pretty cool though. And you've like we just talked about you collabed with some amazing musicians. Is there any that you would love to collab with that you haven't already?
Oh, whew, I don't know. For me, it's not even so much about the music, it's more about the person.
Of
It's
course.
like someone you want to spend time with,
Yeah.
someone you want to say, oh, I'm glad that person was in my life. It's more about that. Like, I don't want to work with any more dickheads. No. In fact, I'm 55 years old. I've had enough dickheads in my life. Uh, and I'm trying my best not to be one. So, yeah, really, it could be anybody. I've worked with opera singers. I've worked with hip hop, rappers and like all kinds of,
Yeah.
all different stuff. It's not all about just staying in my musical lane.
Mhm.
If anything, it's more about just taking a foot out and out of your comfort zone and doing something you haven't done. That's the
Right.
exciting stuff. So it's all the people I wouldn't think of that I would never put on that list are the ones I would love to do it with. Like if
Right.
Lady Gaga said, "Hey, I would need some weird Frella's guitar," like that would be interesting to me.
That'd be cool.
Or that was just like a random one. Or if uh, yeah, some opera singer,
Right.
or an orchestra or something like that. Or I've actually done a lot of things like that because I worked with the State Department for a bunch of years where we would go to different countries like Albania, Brunei, Belarus. Where did we go? Like all around Southeast Asia. Yeah, the Brunei one was cool. And Malaysia, going to Kota Kinabalu and Kuala Lumpur and just everywhere. And we would have these programs with local musicians where I would come in and I would play with like a gamelan band where we're all sitting on the floor and they're hitting bells and hitting things and I'm playing guitar with them
Right.
and putting on shows together. So I've done a lot of things that I never would have thought of or considered. I would love to work with people that do movie music. I mean, I do some,
Right.
but someone that does like really amazing, like one the great composers of
Right.
today that are making music for film and or even theater, just to be part of the incredible music that they make, things like that. Did
Right.
that once. It was in 99, 98, 99. There was one from Turkey, a guy named Fahir Atakoglu. And he brought me in. He was doing all the music for CNN in Turkey. And he had me play all the guitar for all the bumpers and all the little, commercial break pieces of music and everything. And then we did a concert together with a full orchestra in Washington, D.C. to raise money for earthquake victims in
Nice.
'99 and played with a whole orchestra. And his music it was orchestra, but it was progressive. It was like progressive music with orchestra. So it was all these weird timings and unusual octatonic scale-based music, and it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Sounds crazy. Sounds crazy.
So
And
I've done some cool shit.
you have done some cool
I
shit.
have. Like this is the thing. Like I'm looking at life now. I know this might be a little early, but I look at it like my life is over. It's a weird way to look at life.
It's a weird
I
way.
tend to look at life like, okay, I could die tomorrow, and I might die tomorrow. So make today worthwhile and look back on life and make sure that it was and continues to be, if you're given another day, something that you can like look back on and say that was a damn good ride.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course.
So that's kind of my approach to everything at this point.
That's a perfect approach. And with this record, you have some crazy names, like they're really creative track names. How did you go about coming up with them? And then they have different names before you came up with the exact name for these ones?
Yeah, there was always like a working title. Like, let me try and remember the working titles. Simon in Space was called One. Planetary Lockdown, that had its name. Moonshine Hootenanny, I called Lonnie, Lonnie, because I was watching a blues documentary, and this guy Lonnie Anderson started. Lonnie Johnson, sorry, Lonnie. Lonnie Anderson, where did that come from? WKRP. Uh, Lonnie Johnson. Fuck. He was this old blues. See, I'm 55. I'm losing my brain. Old blues player, and he was playing this song, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I just got that feeling, that lift of inspiration that you get. And I grabbed my guitar and just started playing this fun riff that I just made up on the spot and turned it into a song. So that song was called Lonnie.
Nice.
Monstruoso was called Dub. Monstruoso 2 was called Dub End. Cintaku, that is a Indonesian, Malaysian word that means my love.
Nice.
Once and Forever, that came at the last minute. I could not think of a name for that song. And it was driving me nuts. And I knew the feeling that it gave me,
Right.
like when you have that once in a lifetime special moment,
Of course.
whether it's like, I mean, it could be anything from dancing at your prom to dancing at your wedding to whatever it is, like just those just special moments you look back on.
Yeah.
But then finally at the last minute, I had a couple of name choices that I was thinking of. And I asked Brian, I said, which one from these choices? And he was like, I like Once and Forever. I was like, okay, that's the one. And Andalusia, because it's my attempt at flamenco music. So that's an area of Spain where that comes from.
Right.
And I think that was just called flamenco. Anveshana, it means learning. And since that song was called F sharp minor. And, oh, no, that was called F5. That was the name of it because it was in five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, 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 boom. And it was in F sharp. Then I just left off the sharp. It's called an F5. So that was that one. And Funeral March, I just pictured like a bunch of people just walking almost like zoned out. They're just so in shock of and like disassociated from misery, from just being beaten down and battered down and just walking like zombies down this road and you hear the feet. And I pictured almost like a funeral in Louisiana, like just with the bell and the timpani and everything. And that was originally just called B minor. Greekstown Crossing. What was the name of that one? Trying to let me check the files. I know it had a name. Greekstown is a town right near the studio, and I was looking up the history of it and everything. And the song reminds me of being on a tour bus, just looking out the window and just watching everything pass. And it's like that's kind of your life that you've just given into and become one with, and you don't plant roots anywhere, and you're just kind of floating in this bus along with it on that road.
Right.
And so it starts with leaving the nearest town, Greekstown, and Greekstown Crossing. So the name of that, let me see, do I have, searching for the audio files, let's see, where's the album? There it is. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let me look up mixes. Old. It was called PJJF
Very
because
interesting name.
it reminded me melodically and the groove of it when I first started writing it of Pearl Jam and Jellyfish. Remember the band Jellyfish?
I actually don't know who Jellyfish for one.
Look them up. They were around 1990. They're like Beatles-esque and
Ooh,
just
that's nice.
such a phenomenal band.
I'll definitely have to check them out because
Check them
I
out.
love me some Beatles bass line, so I'd love to hear some stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. They were, if you love the Beatles, they definitely had the kind of 66, 67 years psychedelic influence. Not that they're being trippy, but they're just being creative.
Right.
And capturing beats and rhythms that are almost Ringo-like, phenomenal, and just the harmonies and the melodies and just incredible band. Two incredible bands that should be on the top of everybody's list.
Agreed.
King's X and Jellyfish.
King's X for sure.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
amazing. Amazing.
So let's see, when I first started working on the song. Oh, wait, okay. Here it is, song idea. All right, so this was a song idea from 2019. It says January 15, 2019.
Dang.
Let's see what this sounds like.
3, 4. A, A, G, G, A, B, B, C, D, D, E, C, E.
This is what I would do, is I would just be driving and thinking, and like a song idea would pop in my head, so I'd grab my phone and say, song idea. And that's what I would do. So that's where that song came from. And I guess obviously I went through these songs. It's like, oh, what about that one?
Right.
So then 2022, January 20th, 2022. It had almost like that sort of Pearl Jam black
Right.
kind of feel. Just random ideas with just a random beat.
Definitely has that Pearl Jam sound for sure.
So that was the first demo version of it. Let's see. Then in April 28th, another version. Let's see. What do we have? Put down the real guitars and started arranging it, but it still, I think, didn't have real drums yet. Jump ahead. No solo yet. Oh. Then a year later is when Kyle laid down his drums.
Right.
Or at least maybe it was before that, but that's when this mix I'm looking at. 2023, April 10th. Real drums. Yep.
Crazy the change, how much it changed from the beginning. Sounds amazing though.
Did it have the solo? Oh, it didn't have the solo yet. What my original plan was I was picturing trading off, where I do something, the other person does something, I do something, the other person does something. So I think the other person goes. There you go. And then eventually it finally, oh wait, here's another one, a solo idea. 2023, May 14th. What is this?
Possible melody for PJJF solo. 1, 2, 3.
That became the solo.
That's cool though, like the way you go about it.
Yeah, a lot of times there's not even a guitar in my hand when I'm writing, and I'm just thinking music, just feeling music, and then it's like, oh, let me not forget this, and I just grab my phone and just sing something into it, and yeah.
Makes sense. I thought it was cool because we were talking about the hot sauces. I thought it was cool that you did that. If you could rank them from your favorite to your least, what would be your favorite? Because you have 3 that are out.
Oh, the hot sauces?
Yeah.
One of my favorite to, like, I don't know. I mean, they each serve a different role. It's like you have the sauce, which is everything. It goes with everything. When you just want a flavorful, nice red sauce, you don't want like a simple biting table sauce. You want something with herbs and a little more going on that's going to add something more to the food than just heat and vinegar. That one.
Right.
So there's that. Then if you want something that's more barbecue-y, cherry, bourbon, chipotle, Bumblicious. That one. It's a mild sauce and it adds a lot of flavor to, if you could put it on a steak, you could put it on veggies, you could, all kinds of things. And then if you just want to really just jack up your food and just make it ridiculous and just add intense heat, then there's Bumblefucked. That one. So that just one drop will heat a whole plate of food. So if I'm eating Kung Pao chicken, or if I'm eating some Indian food, or some Thai food, or whatever it is, something where I want to just add even more heat to it, put a little bit of that on there. Take it like, why did I do this? And yeah, so each one has its purpose, and each one is my favorite for that purpose.
Right.
I really don't have one that's like, oh, I don't like this sauce that much, and this
Right.
one I love. Like, I like them all for their purposes. Yeah.
Right. And what's something you do that all the time that no one would expect from you?
Oh, there's so many stupid things. I eat dry powder,
Oh, shit.
dry
Okay.
protein powder. Instead of mixing it into a glass and like today was leg day at the gym.
Mhm.
I'm hurting and I'm getting hungry. So, so what I do, I shouldn't do this right now because it's ridiculous, but I will take a scoop of this and I will just dump it into my mouth. It's all in my beard, it's all over my shirt. I'm doing this and I have to try not to breathe because if I inhale, all
Right.
this powder goes down into my lungs. And if I exhale, it looks like a dragon. I'm like, and so I just have a mouth full of protein powder and I just slowly just kind of work it until it turns into this gummy, nasty stuff. And then I remember, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I brought a bottle of water here. So then at that point, I throw water in my mouth and I just like, and it's, people think it's gross and stupid. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? So that is something I do while I'm spending like 10 hours in the studio, just staring at the screen, getting hungry, not playing my guitar, which is an arm's reach away, and not going down to get food because I'm just working. I don't want to break the flow. So I take a mouthful of dry protein powder.
That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah, so that's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know what else. I mean, that one is, maybe I could just stop at that one before I give you a long list of weirdo stuff that I do.
Right. And are the things that like motivated you to start the band in the first place still driving you today, whether it's the music that inspired you, world events, or what are there different sources now that keep you inspired?
Life is inspiration. Everything you experience is inspiration. It's a story to tell. When you come home, it's like, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened today. Instead of saying that, you say it through music.
Of course.
So that's kind of what an album is when you make an album, or even just one song. I compare it to just photographs. It's like, here's a picture of me here. Here's a picture of me when I did this. Here's a picture of me when I had to get that colonoscopy. Oh, here's a picture of me doing here. Here's a picture of me with my friend. And just saying, hey, here's what I did this summer. It's like that kind of thing. But it's just musical. It's like taking a moment of your life and sharing those moments with people. And if they look at the picture and say, oh, wow, the Eiffel Tower, that's so cool, I want to go there. And maybe they'll get inspired to go there and they go. And that's what music does as a music maker, but that's also as a listener what it does to us. It's like a lot of times it's not other music, most of the time that makes you want to write a song. It's more just the things you experience in life, the things you feel.
Right.
That you feel like you need to get out, the things that make you want to write a nasty letter that you don't send, or just write a poem, or write a song, or whatever it is, or draw a picture where you're just like, I hate you, whatever it is. That kind of thing, that when you have something you just need to get out. Yeah. So here's 14 need to get outs.
Right. For someone listening to you for the first time, what 5 songs would you suggest them to listen to from your catalog?
Oh, okay. Let's just do just from this album, maybe we could say, because from the catalog, we're talking like
Millions?
there's a lot of songs. It's been a lot of albums. Just from this one, I'm going to say Moonshine Hootenanny, because it's fun and it goes to weird places. It's silly, it's off, it's almost Zappa-ish sometimes in the breaks, and it just does what I like to do with music, which is to suddenly surprise you and make you sort of smile. So that's one. Then I will say Planetary Lockdown. I will say, it could only be five. Simon in Space.
Good one.
Oh, wait a minute. Because then I was going to say The Thread, just to show the guitar side. You know what? I'm going to take away Simon in Space and I'm going to put in The Thread.
Okay.
The Thread as just a guitar display type song of just, guitar, music, and the guitar just stays in the front the whole time and just doesn't stop. Not that it's like a shreddy song, but it's just like one continuous voice. Then I'm going to say Funeral March to show just the other side of just compositionally, orchestration. And then I might have to go with Once and Forever to show just the more pure melodic kind of side. So I'm going to pick those five.
That makes sense. And then for anyone wanting to keep up with you for, well, not tour dates, but like the fantasy camps, your album dropping, anything about you, where can they keep up with you and find this brand new amazing record that's going to drop?
Thank you. Just go to bumblefoot.com. I finally revamped my website after it was 2008 was my website. And so finally have a nice new functional website where you could find out everything. It has any appearances, tour dates, anything going on is on there. Very full, detailed discography of any guest solos to produce to movie stuff to albums to bands I played with and links to everything. What else is on there? Music videos, usual stuff. And of course, social media, anything Bumblefoot. So if you go to YouTube at Bumblefoot, go to X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Bumblefoot, anything, except for TikTok. That one's Bumblefoot Official. Somebody took Bumblefoot and they have it. But I have like 2 followers on TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. But everything else, Bumblefoot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I love to thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate your thoughtful questions and your time and your Freddy Krueger back there and your Beetlejuice and everybody and very cool. And it's great to chat with you. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to end the interview